programme, we're talking about farming in Africa.
The study of farming is called agriculture.
And this is a new look at agriculture in Africa. How one expert, a Harvard professor, thinks Africa could change from being an importer of food to an exporter in 1 generation.
In 1 generation? That's usually a period of about 20 to 30 years, the time it takes for someone to become an adult.
In his book, The New Harvest, Professor Calestus Juma says Africa could become self-sufficient in terms of growing food within 1 generation. But before we find out more, can you explain what a staple crop is?
Sure. A staple crop is a plant that's grown for food, and it's considered to be the most important part of a country's diet.
So like rice or corn. And my question is about the country Professor Calestus Juma comes from originally, Kenya. Which of these is a staple crop in Kenya? Rice, maize, wheat?
I think I'm going for maize because I know that's something that's used in other countries in Africa.
Well, we'll find out at the end of the programme. Now let's see how Professor Juma thinks Africa could become food secure.
Food secure. That's self-sufficient in terms of food.
He believes that leaders in Africa need to make agriculture a top priority. And he says that the modernisation of agriculture is the responsibility of African presidents. Let's listen to what he says.
I think the most important message is for them to recognize that agriculture and the economy for Africa are one and the same. And that is the responsibility of an African president to modernize the economy. And that means essentially starting with the modernization of agriculture. And that they should stick with it, not hand it over to departmental ministries.
Agriculture and economy are one and the same.
One and the same. A phrase which means they're identical. They are the same. Here, that the economy in Africa is completely dependent on agriculture.
The BBC's science reporter, Neil Bowdler, says Professor Juma is thinking big.
Thinking big. He has large ambitions.
He believes it's a question of political will.
Political will. If politicians want to make something happen, they will.
Professor Juma can't be accused of not thinking big. He says that with land and labour abundant, Africa shouldn't be a hungry importer of food, but a major exporter. He says it's all a question of political will.
Juma can't be accused of not thinking big.
That's true. He says Africa has abundant land and labour.
Abundant, lots of land to grow crops on and lots of labour, lots of people to work on farms.
But what about the detail of how this can happen? Large areas of Africa's land is desert or suffers from drought.
According to Neil Bowdler, Juma has a wish list.
A wish list. A list of things he would like to happen. What are they?
He wants to boost investment in roads, to carry crops and machines from place to place.
Boost investment. Increase the amount of money put into agriculture. What else?
To boost investment in irrigation.
Irrigation. Moving water from one place to another to make sure crops don't dry out.
And to mechanise farms. Introduce big machines to help with the harvest and process crops. He wants people to embrace what science can offer.
To embrace what science can offer, to take advantage of new technology.
In agriculture, this might mean using genetically modified crops.
GM crops, crops that have been developed by scientists to be stronger or to need less water to grow, so they may be less affected by climate change.
Let's hear Neil Bowdler again.
The wish list, and some will call it that, is a long one. Boost investment in roads, irrigation and energy schemes. Mechanise all farms and build storage and processing facilities. He's also asking the continent to embrace what science can offer, and that includes using GM crops to combat climate change.
So before we go, Yvonne, have you thought about our question from earlier? Which are staple crops in Kenya? Rice, maize, wheat?
I said maize because that's a staple crop in other African countries?
Well, it was a bit of a trick question, Yvonne, because all three are grown as staple crops in Kenya.
Oh, that's a trick.
Apparently rice, not as much as wheat and maize, but it's catching up. And before we go today, Yvonne, would you mind reading some of the words and phrases we've heard today?
Not at all. Agriculture. Self-sufficient. Staple crop. Food secure. Modernization. Thinking big. Political will. Abundant.
Thanks very much, Yvonne. Beautifully read. Well, we do hope you've had fun with us today on 6 Minute English and that you'll join us again next time.
Bye-bye.
That was 6 Minute English from bbclearningenglish.com.